So what I want to talk about in this next video is that what the point that Pam and I want to get across is that MoCRA is going to seem confusing or overwhelming because it's new. The FDA has not rolled out changes like this in a really long time. So there isn't someone on your staff right now that's going to be an expert in what they need to do. And you might just need a little help just to walk you through the process. And that's what we're here for. So you can reach us at courtney.haley@10thstudio.com or Courtney at 10thgroup.com or regulatory at 10thgroup.com. And we're here to help in whatever capacity, and whether we come in and just train your team what to do, or whether we come in and do it for you, whichever you prefer.
Courtney?
Yes.
We need to talk about safety substantiation.
Yes, that's my favorite one. It just shows we're in the right career, right? When you and I are excited about talking about safety substantiation. So let's talk about product safety, because I think, this is a separate video than when we're talking about an exemption. So if you think your company is exempt for different criteria, you are never exempt from product safety substantiation. And this one we're going to walk through, which it's probably not going to be a short video, but this is the first time that brands have had to do this. So maybe if you were distributing your products to the EU, you might have had a little bit of experience in determining how you safety test your products or your ingredients, or how we go through that. So this is very new for everyone for US distribution. So let's start with, well, I'll leave it up to you. Do you want to start with product safety or ingredient safety, or my favorite, what if every ingredient is safe? Can I say my product is safe? So many places to start.
Well, let's start with how the FDA is, they're defining it in MoCRA. They say, first of all, let's go with the term safe, because when we talked the last time, I did not really have at hand a good definition of safe. And the term safe means that a cosmetic product, including any ingredient thereof, is not injurious to users under the conditions of use prescribed in the labeling thereof, or under such conditions of use as are customary or usual. So the point here is, it's not just the product being safe, it's also the ingredients that are used need to be safe, determined safe, and you need to have documentation that they're safe. So it's important to include the ingredients. When we talked about this last time, we talked more about the product safety, but not so much about the ingredient safety. So this time I'm going to talk a little bit more about ingredient safety. And there are several resources, but it's key. The important thing is that it has to be solid information. It has to be, you have to have testing, studies or research or analyses or other information from experts that support a reasonable certainty that the ingredient is safe. What we're looking for is what type of documentation may exist for ingredients that will help us make that determination. And one of the key resources to look at is the CIR. In the US, it's called the Cosmetic Ingredient Review, and it's a team of doctors, FDA, and that get together, review ingredients. They're published, the results are published, and it's based on the usage that came off of the voluntary registration of formulas. So that was a crossover there where they got a lot of their data from. But anyway, the CIR information's available. That's something that definitely should be considered. In addition, EU has a similar type of program. It's called the S as in Sam, C as in Charles, S as in Sam, the Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety, so SCCS, and they also do similar type of, or can provide similar type of raw material ingredient safety evaluation information. The Raw Material Safety Data Sheet, SDS Safety Data Sheet, has a section on toxicology. So that might be useful also. And then if you have, Courtney, like you mentioned, if you have sold product in the EU, you have had to do a product information file. And in that product information file is embedded all ingredient safety information that then an assessor reviews along with the product testing information and determines if the product is safe. So if you've had to collect information for a PIF, product information file for EU, you probably have a lot of the information already available. Okay, but if you haven't, you've got some work to do. And this is where you really need to have you're going to have to work with your raw material supplier on obtaining the information from them also. And I have a feeling a lot of the raw material suppliers, especially the larger firms, know this, recognize this, and are going to be already getting prepared to be able to distribute this type of information.
Yeah, and this is where we can help you as well, because this is a tedious job. You can always start with your supplier of your finished good and ask them to provide these documents per ingredient. We find often that the suppliers may not have the most recent version. So a lot of times you will end up going to the raw material company directly, which I always recommend if you have the time and the staff to do that, is just call them up. A lot of these big companies are sometimes keeping the forms electronically on their website, and because it's public information, it's not a confidential document, and you can download the most recent version. I've received paperwork from suppliers that are sometimes 20 years old because they're not in the business of regulatory or ingredient review. And so they're not keeping the documents in-house updated. And so if you go to your supplier and you say, oh, can I just have this, just use one of them as example, the CIR for each one, it could be outdated, or instead of an SDS, they're giving you an MSDS, which is outdated. And then you're ending up going to the raw material supplier anyway. And if you have questions, it's really the raw material supplier that you want to ask the direct question. If you go back to your supplier, they too would have to go to the raw material supplier. So it's an ingredient by ingredient check. It's very common in our industry. You need to go through by ingredient when you're creating your ingredient list, or maybe you have a retailer that has a classification. I think like Clean Beauty is one example. Maybe a retailer has classified what they define as clean beauty, and you need to go back through your ingredient list, ingredient by ingredient, and document that you have reviewed it and it is compliant, so that you can classify your product as clean beauty. So this is going to be a lot of paperwork and a lot of review. So whoever's helping you do it, whether it's you're bringing us in to do it for you, or to bring us in and teach your team how to do it, you need to give your team some time, because people do not respond as quickly as you would like them to. And come fourth quarter, it's going to be very, very chaotic when it comes to MoCRA. So just build in some time for that.